So hello and happy October. I'm trying out my tiny mic today. We'll see how this works because this is actually the second time I have recorded this video. I attempted to do it yesterday outdoors, which was great for the natural lighting and everything. Terrible for the sound. Apparently I kept hitting my phone or something, and so we got this like clickety clackety. Also planes, cars, people coming in and out of the building. So it is very hard for me to find a place to record, as evidenced by the number of in-car videos. So hi, this is our October video newsletter. Also trying something new with the formatting so that I can give you your information right next to me. So let's take a look at what's on the Wakelet newsletter. Now this month, my self-imposed theme is graphics and multimedia. So as always, we can work on anything you need in the classroom, but if you're looking for an idea, this is kind of where my focus is. Things like Canva, things like Adobe Express are both really good tools for different kinds of graphic design and multimedia. So things like animations and things like GIFs, infographics, jazz up your presentations, make some memes, whatever you got in mind, or if you don't have anything in mind, hit me up. That's what I'm here for. So if you haven't checked out Adobe Express, I know some of you are really far into Canva, which is also a really great tool and super fun. I use it all the time, but Adobe Express has released a lot of new tools kind of recently. All tools from Adobe and Canva kind of have their own AI, artificial intelligence kind of generation tools and things like that. But Adobe has this really fun feature called Animate from Audio. And what you do is you record yourself talking, and the more you can animate your voice and make it do different things, the more that your character will move around and express themselves. But basically your audio turns into an animated character. So this is kind of a fun feature to use for anytime you're practicing your speaking skills or auditory skills. This could be great for a foreign language. This could be great for students that maybe don't want to be on video. And it could just be great just for fun if you're practicing your read alouds, or maybe you're practicing doing plays or dramatics or speech, and you want to talk about your voice inflection and exaggeration. This might be a really fun way to kind of do that. So fun thing to check out. So other items in the newsletter, we have a link to a free Sue the T-Rex virtual tour through the Field Museum. This link, thank you, I believe it was a teacher at Chicago Ridge for sharing that. Apologize if I got that wrong. I'm trying my best here, friends. And then in my currently listening or reading section, I tend to be more of a listening because I drive so much. So I do a lot of podcast listening. The LTC, which is the company that I work for, just released a podcast. It is called LTC 1-to-1, and they talk about ed tech topics. So if you want to be a super nerd like me, check that out. I put a link there for you. And in non-education podcast sphere, there's one that I listen to kind of regularly called Articles of Interest, and it's all about fashion and the history of fashion and kind of where things come from. And this particular episode is all about pockets. Kind of an interesting all-around podcast to listen to. All right, under tips and tricks, I've actually got some stories, some anecdotes from my own teaching regarding executive functioning, because last week at Chicago Ridge, we had a half day, where we attended a webinar all about executive functioning, and it really got me thinking about my time in the middle school and things that worked for me. So you might want to go through those to read them, but one in particular I want to highlight is I had a class that was leaving at the same time another class was coming in. Not only was it just crazy with there was no passing period, but it was a changeover of grade levels. So I had 8th graders leaving and 6th graders coming in. And those of you that teach middle school know that 6th graders and 8th graders are wildly different beasts. I found myself being very flustered by this, and the students were as well. So what I learned is when we talk about executive functioning and things that help, your students with their executive functioning, a lot of times helps you as well. It's that whole universal design for learning, that what is meant as an accommodation for one ultimately can help everyone in different ways that maybe we didn't even anticipate. One of the things I did I instituted what I called a mindful minute. And it was a 60-second, I Googled on YouTube, 60-second breathing video. And I found this video. I can't even find the original one anymore, so I put some examples in the newsletter for you, just walking you through breathe in, breathe out. I think the guy had a cool Australian accent. I did it for the kids just to kind of set the intention and start the class off, kind of calmly, but it helped me too. When I didn't do it, kids would a lot of times call me on it. Mrs. Leban, we didn't do our mindful minute. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it's another thing, but it's 60 seconds and worth way more than the 60 seconds that it took. Try it out. Now, in upcoming PD news, I am actually presenting at the IAEA, that is Illinois Art Education Association's conference. I was actually invited to speak about my experience as a children's book illustrator. My art teachery friends, October 19th through 21st. If you're going, I'll see you there. And then at the end of the month is IETC, which is the Illinois Education and Technology Conference. It is put on by my employer, the LTC, which, by the way, stands for Learning Technology Center of Illinois. There is one other conference in the month of October. I will be attending the ICIC, the Instructional Coaches Conference. I'll also be going to that. I'm speaking at a panel with some of my fellow coaches, so wish me luck. I've included some resources, some tips and tricks for you, including a template that you could choose to use, a one-pager of information that you can fill out, print, put in your sub notes or your sub folder, all about how tech works in your classroom. So if a sub comes in, do they have a special login? Do you have a sub Google account? Do they need a cord to attach to your board or to cast to your board? Do you want them to cast to your board? Put all that stuff on a one-pager, stick it in your sub folder and have it. So if that applies to you and it interests you, it's there. Use it. I've also included a YouTube video about fixing or correcting or taking steps to kind of change that entanglement of Google accounts. So if you are signed into your personal and your school Google account and it's caused some issues with files and logins and you're like, what am I logged into? And you've accidentally used one or the other. Hate when that happens. It happens to all of us, but there's a video that kind of walks you through the steps on how to fix that. Google Fonts has a section now with icons. So if you're into fonts and you like downloading different fonts, check out Google Fonts because now they have tiny pictures you can use too. And then I recorded a very quick video about a tool that I've known for a while, but it occurred to me that some teachers don't know it. So a lot of teachers, particularly my elementary teachers, love to use slide presentations on their interactive board to do drag and drop activities. Did you know there is an extension called Full Screen Interactive Google Slides? So you no longer have to just present the edit version. You can actually present it full screen, like you were presenting, only it maintains that ability to edit or click and drag. Try that out. You'll probably find it pretty useful if you do a lot of drag and drop activities. So in Apple News and iPad News, you have not turned on Select to Speak on your iPad. I've got a little tutorial on that. Even if you're not sure if you're going to use it, it is helpful to turn it on and have it. Very lastly, I've decided I'm going to include my shout outs and ideas and kind of goings on and what's happening at the different school buildings. I'm going to put it right in the newsletter because I am still on the Twitter struggle bus. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I'm not calling it anything other than Twitter. Let's talk about what's going on in the buildings. At South Holland, we've been doing a bunch of Apple professional learning, which is something that's actually going to go on all school year, which is super great because basically the guy from Apple comes, his name is Jim Weber, he's great, meets with the teacher, they come up with an idea for a lesson, together, they're just the teacher's we're practicing letter forms, and Jim's that's awesome, we should try it using this tool, and then he comes into your classroom the next day and shows you how to do it. This is not planning on the teacher's part. This is Jim comes in and shows you some Apple magic that you're whoa, that's awesome, and then you can do it on your own after that, even after he's gone. That's a fun thing that's going on. I've been cricketing my heart out. In 4th and 5th grade, we've been making a lot of these name labels for our Chromebooks. So a lot of that's been happening. I've been spending a lot of time in the makerspace just cutting out the crickets. So that's a fun thing. Greenwood is actually planning for a new library media center, which is something I love doing. I love talking about learning space design and classroom design. So even on a much smaller scale, if you're I'm interested in reorganizing my classroom and changing up the layout, come and talk to me. I'd love to talk about that because I find it fascinating and I'm a huge nerd. We've done a lot of work with translation tools at both of my districts. So I have released, I believe it was last month's newsletter, a couple of resources for translating using Chromebooks and iPads. So that is something that's going on at both districts. In Chicago Ridge specifically, we are doing a lot of work with Clever. So it's a little bit of a changeover. A lot of teachers are used to having to roster all of their own tools, which is another thing on your plate. It's another thing to do. We've instituted Clever so that for those district-wide purchased resources, they are essentially auto-rostered for you through our student information system. So is it a change in our protocols of what we've done in the past? Yes. But in the end, it's actually less work for you. There are bumps in the road, and that is to be expected, but make sure you reach out if you need help, and we can kind of swat those flies as they come up. So other things in Chicago Ridge, we do use GoGuardian as our monitoring system with devices. And if you haven't checked it out, I've talked to a couple of elementary teachers that knew we had it, but didn't really know what it could do for them. And once we sat down together and I was kind of like, you could do this, you could do this. Here's how I used it. I used GoGuardian in my previous school district, so I'm pretty well versed with it. I'd love to sit down and help you work through that and find how it can be useful for you in your classroom. What else? More iPad stuff. K1 teachers, EL teachers. I've been doing a lot of work with trying to get the iPads set up and ready to go, making sure they're updated, because I do believe that a device is accessible and ready to go and easy to use, teachers will use it. So we need to kind of remove those barriers to use. You haven't been using your iPads because you're I just don't know how, and they're never charged, and they're never I can help with that sort of stuff. So I've been doing a lot of work in the EL classrooms with kind of getting their carts functional. And I'm a little embarrassed to admit, because I'm very self-conscious about it, but Taher over at Ridgelawn has been slowly but surely teaching me very basic Arabic phrases. When I come in the morning, I can say marhaba to all of you, and then you will say something back to me in Arabic, and I'll have no idea what you're saying. So I do welcome any opportunities to practice, as long as you are patient with me. I want to learn more, I want to do better, but I do need your support. So if you're interested in practicing with me or teaching me something new, I'm open to it. And the very final information here, I just wanted to highlight the Findlay Junior High Library. Shout out, because every time I go in there, something cool is going on. Erin Stapleton recently attended DigLitCon, which was last month, and she attended a session by one of my colleagues, Eric Santos, and he talked all about artificial intelligence. She learned some amazing tools and actually brought them back to the Findlay staff. And if you're interested in learning more about that and AI tools, hit me up. I can also talk to you about them as well and kind of help support that. So those are all the latest, greatest goings on. It is October, so it is my favorite time of the year. Stay safe, talk soon, have a great day and a great month. Bye.